Hello, hello, guys. It is great to be back with you all again. Remember, I told you we're going to be doing this every day. So it's really good to be back with you guys again today. I just wanted to touch base, just thinking about uh, when nursing itself, um, where burnout isn't just being tired, that it's actually emotional exhaustion. And I think it's something that is often overlooked, but we can't negate that fact and we can't move away from it. It's just something that has to be discussed. So there's a kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix. And if you know exactly what I mean when I say that, this video is definitely for you. Today isn't about motivation. It's not about pushing through. It's about putting a name to something that nurses feel, but rarely talk about, and that's emotional exhaustion. Let's just slow it down together. We'll do this together. Um, Emotional exhaustion doesn't always look like breaking down. Sometimes it looks like numbness. Sometimes it can look like irritability, withdrawal, feeling disconnected from the patients that we often feel really deeply and we care about. So you're still functioning in your day-to-day roles and responsibilities. You're still competent, you're still showing up, but it costs you more than it used to. That's emotional exhaustion. Um, Nursing itself is emotional labor. You absorb pain, the feeling of loss, trauma, gratitude, grief. We feel it all the time. And most of the time, we're expected to move on to the next patient without processing any of it. And that emotional weight doesn't disappear, it actually accumulates. Eventually, it ends up showing up in our bodies, it shows up in our mood, and it shows up even how we see ourselves. Remember, a lot of this dis-ease, if we're not careful, eventually turns into just that disease. So we'll find that many nurses, when we think about who we are, many nurses feel like we're not ourselves anymore. And feeling that way, it can be a scary feeling because no one went into nursing to feel they're going to lose a part of their identity and who they are. So when the exhaustion itself creeps in, it feels personal. It's like you're losing something. And it's not just your energy, but you feel like you're losing you. So it's something that we have to be so mindful of. Even when you think about the guilt that nurses feel. We carry guilt in silence. We don't often share it with others. It's something we keep to ourselves. We often can tell ourselves, and I know we've been conditioned to do it, but we say things like, well, other people have it worse than me. Or if you're a religious person or a really self aware person, you'll say things like, well, I should be grateful for what it is I have. I shouldn't, I should just take these things as they come and be thankful because there are some people who don't even have this opportunity. But minimizing the pain we have doesn't heal that pain, it just isolates us. And as nurses, we are allowed to admit that this job has taken a toll. So I want us to be aware of ourselves, even in this moment. So pause, think about this for a second. Notice your shoulders. Are they tense? How about your jaw? Do you feel like your jaw is clenching? Is your breathing itself often shallow? And it's sometimes it's things that you don't notice until you're being intentional about being aware of it. And I don't want you to think about fixing any of it. I just want you to notice it. So being aware is not a sign of weakness. It's actually wisdom. It's us being wise enough to know what our bodies are telling us. We've been trained to be able to know based on how a patient presents, based on vitals, based on labs. We've been trained to be aware and know what's going on in their bodies so that we know how it needs to be fixed. Isn't it amazing that we've been trained to know what that looks like for our patients, but we don't take that same skill to know what that looks like for us? We end up doing ourselves a disservice. And we can't, that can no longer be how we move in nursing. If we do, we stand to lose more than just our emotional selves. If we're not careful, we will begin to damage these physical bodies of ours. So remember, emotional exhaustion does not mean that you don't care. It just means that oftentimes we care so much, but we haven't been given enough space to recover. Think about how things are. I mean, things are very fast paced in any hospital or facility setting. You're not often given time to grieve the loss of a patient. And it doesn't mean that you knew that patient intimately. No, it's the loss of life. And seeing that day in, day out, without having an outlet or a way to decompress, if we're not careful, it will end up harming us. So you've got to remember, it's not an emotional flaw to feel exhaustion, an emotional exhaustion. It's 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 feedback. Our body's actually giving us feedback. And it's something that our system needs to support, not to condemn. So see this as permission to be human. The same allowances and grace we give to our patients, we need to give that to ourselves as well. So you don't need to harden yourself to survive nursing. You don't need to lose your compassion. You just need permission to be human. We've seen more than enough nurses who have been hardened by this profession, hardened by what they see day after day, what they've taken in and not had the ability to release. So give yourself permission to be human and give yourself permission to rest without feeling like it's a reward or it's something you had to earn. Don't consider it that way. So, in this upcoming series, we're going to be talking about protecting our emotional energy, not by becoming distant, but by becoming intentional. So, this video is about awareness. The sprint itself is going to be about action, small, realistic, sustainable shifts, things that you can do. But we don't move forward without acknowledging where we are. We have to acknowledge where we are as a profession and where we are individually. So, if nursing has drained more from you than you expected, know that you are not broken, you are not failing, you are still you. It's just you under the exhaustion. So rest here for a moment and we're going to move forward, but we'll move forward when you're ready. You've got to give yourself that grace to rest and know that as a community, we're here. As a fellow nurse, I've got you. And we're going to get through this together. And you're going to get the tools you need to be able to protect your physical body, protect your mental body and your mental health, and to protect your emotional health. So stay tuned, join the community, let other nurses know, and let's do this together. All right, until next time, guys, be well.